This is a special report from True Crime Today and the Hidden Killers podcast.
I'm Tony Bruschi. Thanks for joining us. We go now to the courtroom for segment number 1 of today's coverage in the trial of Scot Peterson, the Parkland School resource police officer charged with negligence in failing to protect the children of Parkland as a gunman went through the school executing many, many students. Let's go to the courtroom.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Come on in. Once you're back in those same seats, you may be seated. All the parties may be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, those of you using the notepads, I'll give you a moment to get those notepads. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I hope you had a nice evening last night when we paused the trial. We were in the middle of the state's presentation. We're going to resume it at that point. State, when you are ready, you may call your next witness.
State calls Marian Kavachenko.
Can I have the interpreter come on up? What's the language? Russian. Nancy, raise your right hand. You swear or affirm you can accurately interpret between English and Russian and English?
I do.
Your name is?
Oksana Dobbins. I'm both certified Russian language.
You can come all the way up to the witness stand here. Once you reach it, before you have a seat, raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth.
Yes.
Please be seated. Can you please scoot the chair up as far as Can you please, well, let me do it this way first. We are going to speak in English. Madam Interpreter will interpret it in Russian. And you have to answer the questions. You may do so in Russian. And then the Madam Interpreter will interpret it back to us in English.
Okay.
The most important thing is that only one person can talk at a time. Do you have any questions about that?
No, thank you.
Please state your full name and spell your full name.
Marian Marian Kavachenko.
Ms. Gold, you may inquire.
Good morning, Marian. I understand that you do speak some English, correct? And so you, I assume, will understand the majority of what I'm saying in English. Is that right? Yes, but you prefer to have a Russian interpreter just in case certain words don't come to you in English. Yes. Okay. Would you please tell the jury where you currently live and whether you're working or in school?
Я проживаю в городе Паркland и учусь в колледже.
I live in city of Parkland and I'm studying in college at Bryan College.
And what are you studying?
Cyber security.
Marion, how old are you?
19.
Who do you live with?
С родителями, мамой, отцом, двумя братом и двумя сестрами.
With my parents, my mother, my father, and also with my brother and 2 sisters.
Marion, in 2018, did you live in the same home in Parkland?
Yes.
Were you in high school at the time?
Yes, I was attending Murdaugh Daybell School.
I want to turn your attention to February of 2018. Can you explain for the members of the jury how long you have been in this country?
Я думаю, что около 1,5 месяца, но в школе присутствовал только около книги.
I believe that for like month and a half, but the school I was only attending approximately for like only 2 weeks.
Explain for the jury how it is that you were able to attend English classes if your English wasn't so strong at that point.
Это было сложно. Я использовал средства переводчика на телефоне для общения. Но студенты всегда очень приветливые, поэтому было весьма возможно.
It was difficult, and I was using means of communicating with people through like an interpreter app, but also all of the students were very friendly and hospitable, so that helped a lot.
On February 14th of 2018, describe for the members of the jury what school was like that day, before the afternoon.
Это был день влюбленный, я его никак не праздновал, но у всех было приподнятое настроение, школа как бы была более активной и живой.
It was a Valentine's Day, and I personally was not celebrating, but the whole school was kind of had like uplifted mood. You know, people were in very good mood.
Fourth period of that day, what class were you in?
Первые 3 периода я не помню, но 4-й период я был в классе географии.
I do not remember the first 3 periods, but for the fourth one, I was in a geography class.
And what building was that class in?
Это 12-й период.
Building number 12.
What floor was the class on?
На 3-м этаже.
3rd floor.
At approximately 2 p.m., describe for the members of the jury what class was like and what happened.
И примерно было 2 часов.
Ну, вначале класс был обычно, ничего не происходило. Все было как обычно. Насколько я помню, писали что-то вроде самостоятельной работы, небольшого теста.
So initially in the beginning it was just typical class, nothing was happening, and I believe there was like in the beginning some task we had to do by ourselves.
Я, в момент, чтобы выполнять задание, использовал опять же Google переводчик, переводил с русского на английский, с английского на русский и обратно, как бы выполнял это задание.
For that particular task, I was using Google Translate. I was translating from English to Russian and Russian to English.
And can I ask you, when you use Google Translate to communicate with the other students, how do you use it?
Я уже плохо помню, как тогда его использовал, сейчас не пользуюсь, но, насколько я помню, там была возможность что-то вроде Communicate, где можно было говорить на русском и на английском, и все это записывалось и переводилось на
I don't remember very well the way I was using it back then because I'm not using it anymore right now. But I believe there was something like communication option when you could speak in English or Russian, and then it was recorded, and then it would get translated.
So as you're sitting in class and you're performing your task and using Google Translate, what happens next?
Сработала сигнализация. Насколько я понял, это по-французски сигнализация.
So the alarm went off, and as far as I understood, that was a fire alarm.
When the alarm went off, did you have your headphones on?
Да, у меня были наушники, так как я, опять же, использую переводчик, параллельно слушал музыку.
Yes, I had headphones on because, again, I was using translator, and I was also simultaneously listening to music.
What happened when the alarms started to go off?
Сработала сигнализация, и начали студенты выходить из класса.
So the alarm went off, and the students started exiting class.
Но, насколько я помню, студенты не сильно торопились и собирались более-менее медленно, так как это был последний урок, и они собирались брать уже вещи с собой.
And as far as I remember, nobody was in a big hurry because it was like the last class, and people started gathering their stuff to leave.
И насколько я помню, опять же, учитель крикнул, чтобы мы собирались быстрее.
And as far as I remember, the teacher, he actually yelled for us to hurry up, to pack up faster.
Ну и мы поторопились и начали покидать класс.
So we hurried and we started leaving the class.
После чего в коридоре было большое количество студентов, и из низкого роста я не мог не увидеть, что впереди.
And after that, there were lots of students in a hallway, and because of my height, I'm not too tall, I wasn't able to see what's in front.
Но потом впереди что-то начало происходить, какой-то шум, кто-то начал что-то говорить, кричать. Я без знания английского не понимал вообще, что происходит.
Then something started happening in front. There was some noise. Someone started speaking and yelling something. But because of my English level, I wasn't really understanding what was going on.
Для меня все было незнакомо. Я только недавно в этой школе, я не знал, что может происходить. Но студенты впереди начали бежать обратно.
And to me, nothing was familiar there, and I didn't know what's in front of me, but I saw that some students started running backwards.
Но я начал медленными шагами отступать назад.
And so I started stepping backwards slowly.
И через несколько секунд раздались выстрелы.
And several seconds later, the gunshots sounded.
Звуки были очень громкими, поэтому меня как бы передернуло немного.
The sound was very loud. That's why I a little bit shivered.
И я до этого никогда не слышал настоящих выстрелов, поэтому для меня это было большим быть.
I never heard real gunshots before in my life, so that's why it was very shocking.
И я после того, как раздались выстрелы, начал тоже бежать в противоположную сторону от куда вышел стрелок.
So after those gunshots, I also started running in the opposite direction of from where the shooter came out.
When you heard those gunshots, were you in the hallway still?
Yes.
And when you started to run, when you heard the gunshots, where were you running to?
Я бежал к противоположной лестнице.
So I was running to the opposite, it's a staircase.
Но пока я бежал, что-то ударил немного. И в этот момент я, когда ударил ногу, я заметил, что слева есть учитель и несколько студентов, которые стоят в углу.
But while I was running, something hit my leg. And also when I was running, I noticed on my left there was a group there with a teacher and several students.
И я побежал к ним.
So I ran to them.
И учитель пытался открыть класс, и у него это не получилось.
So the teacher tried to open the class, and it did not work out.
When you say it didn't work out, what does that mean?
Ему не удалось, он пытался ключами что-то сделать, поскольку я не делал, но он так и не открыл этот класс.
So he was trying to use his keys. I saw he was trying, but it didn't work out. He did not open the class.
And while he's struggling to open the door, have you already been shot in the leg?
И пока он пытается открыть дверь, то есть уже в этот момент ранен.
Да, я перед тем, как бежать в этот угол, меня уже ранили.
Yes, before I ran to this corner, I already got wounded.
Did he try to then open a different classroom door?
Да, он попытался открыть другую дверь класса, и опять же ему это не удалось.
Yes, then he tried to open the other door of the class, and again it did not work out.
While this is happening, are there more gunshots going on in the background?
Да, выстрелов было очень.
Yes, there were very many gunshots.
And what are you thinking?
Что вы думаете?
Я в момент, я не знаю, о чем я точно думал, но шокированно, я не мог поверить, что это может быть стрельба, потому что я не мог поверить, что это может случиться.
I don't know what I was thinking at that moment. I was in shock. This shooting, I couldn't believe that was happening.
Я был уверен, что это не может быть стрельбой, потому что не может такого случиться.
I was actually sure that it couldn't have been shooting because that simply couldn't be happening.
Meaning you were in denial that it was actually happening?
То есть Yes.
What happens next when the teacher cannot open the second classroom door?
Что дальше происходит?
Учитель выглянул за угла, и в тот момент, я думаю, на несколько секунд выстрелы перестали происходить.
And then the teacher, he looked from around the corner, and I believe at that moment for like several seconds the shooting stopped.
И он сказал нам бежать к лестнице.
So he told us to run towards the staircase.
Насколько я помню, в этом году было несколько студентов, и несколько этих студентов сидели и не побежали.
As far as I remember, at that corner there were several students, and those several students, they were sitting, and they did not run.
Why? What do you mean?
Что вы думаете?
Я в тот момент не был уверен, что с ними, но я видел капли крови, и
At that moment, I wasn't sure what was happening to them, but I saw some drops of blood around there.
И я побежал с еще несколькими студентами к противоположной лестнице.
So I ran with a couple other students towards the staircase.
When you go ahead.
И тогда, пока я бежал, я думаю, что раздались еще несколько выстрелов.
And then, while I was running, I believe several more gunshots sounded.
И я побежал вниз по лестнице, и там уже я заметил, что по ощущениям меньше людей стало, чем бежал.
So I ran down on the staircase, and at that moment I had an impression that there were less people than before.
Я уже не видел учителя и еще нескольких детей.
I was not seeing the teacher and a couple other kids around.
Но с теми детьми, которые остались, мы вышли на улицу из корпуса, и там лежал мужчина перед выходом.
But we got outside with the other kids. We got out of the building, and there was a male's body just laying there.
И когда мы вышли, мы подошли к зданию, мы побежали в сторону парковки.
And then we walked away from the building a little bit and ran towards parking.
Was it clear to you that the man that was laying on the ground was dead?
Вам было чутко?
Да, это было понятно, но я все равно не хотел это признавать.
Yes, that was understandable, but I was still in denial.
Я придумал для себя там всякие причины, которые нелогичные и неестественные причины.
I was making up some reasons that were not logical and they were not natural.
Did any police officer run towards you when you exited that building?
Нет.
No.
When you took off running, where did you go?
Бежали в сторону парковки к границам школы, к школьной зоны. И забежали.
So we ran towards parking. We ran towards the border of the school territory, school premises.
Мы были уже весьма далеко от здания и начали идти медленным шагом.
So, and we got pretty far away from the building, and then we started walking slowly.
Но потом опять раздались выстрелы.
But then the gunshots sounded again.
И мы подумали, что стреляют опять в нас, и мы побежали.
And so we were thinking that we were the target of the shooting again, so we started running again.
And when you heard those gunshots from after you had run away from the building, how far were you from the building when you could still hear those gunshots?
Я так сложно оценить, но мы были на достаточно большом расстоянии, что мы уже чувствовали себя в безопасности.
It's hard to tell, but the distance was it was big enough for us to feel safe.
If I showed you a map, would it help you in your testimony?
Да.
Yes.
No.
I'm broadcasting that.
Okay.
Is that something there?
I don't know if this is on, but I'm not sure how to turn it on. Marion, I'm going to show you an image that will appear on your screen. And sorry, I apologize. I'm showing him what's already in evidence in stage 1. Marion, do you see the 1200 building that you were in that day on this map?
Да.
Yes.
I'm going to turn on a feature that allows you to draw on the screen. Actually, I don't know if I can turn it on, but...
Okay.
Okay. Mary, I'm going to ask you to please circle the 1200 building or building 12 that you were in. Now, if you can show the members of the jury which door you exited from and which direction you ran. If you recall. If you don't recall which door you exited from, that's okay.
So I exited from this side.
And then show the members of the jury by drawing a line which direction you ran.
I think something like that.
I'd like for you to place an X on the screen where you were standing when you could still hear those gunshots.
I think somewhere in this zone right here.
And is that what caused you to then start running again?
Yes.
Okay, so you start to run. Which direction do you go to? What do you do next?
Мы начали бежать. Вначале несколько студентов попробовали перелезть через забор, и они побежали. Я с ними побежал к выходу отсюда.
So initially several students tried to climb the fence and it did not work out. So then they start running and I'm running with them and we ran towards the exit, like right here.
И там надпись, название школы и Ядоницкий забор, и через него нужно было легко перелезть.
So and then there is the sign with the name of the school and the fence is not too high, so you can climb over that.
Could you please show the members of the jury by marking it with an X where the fence is that you had to climb?
Right here.
And Marianne, how were you able to climb that fence if you had been shot in the leg?
Ну, в тот момент меня особо не волновало ничего, кроме того, чтобы уйти с территории школы, и там были люди, которые помогают переходить через дорогу, они помогли нам перелезть.
So at that moment, I was not concerned with anything but to leave the premises of the school. And at that moment, at that place, there were some people there that helped us to climb over the fence.
When you get over the fence, where do you go next?
Я вместе с теми студентами, которые бежали со мной, пошел в закрытую аллею, где находятся дома.
So together with the other students, I went to the it's like enclosed area where the houses are.
Do you mean a neighborhood?
Yes.
And did you use your phone at all to make any calls to 911 or your parents?
В то время у меня не было сим-карты, и чтобы использовать телефон, мне нужно было поймать Wi-Fi.
At that moment, I did not have a SIM card, so in order to use the phone, I had to catch a Wi-Fi signal.
So if you don't have a SIM card, and why didn't you have a SIM card? Just
Почему?
Но мы только приехали и еще не успели освоиться и купить сим-карту.
So because we just had arrived and we didn't have a chance to get the SIM card yet.
and what do you do in order to try and get Wi-Fi?
Так как у меня был Xfinity, интернет-доступ, я нашел ближайший дом, где есть Xfinity, и смог подключиться к интернету.
So because I had access to Xfinity internet, I found nearest house that had a Xfinity signal, and I was able to connect.
Were you still with those other students as you're walking?
В тот момент, да.
At that moment, yes.
And how were you able to, or did you communicate with those students?
Ну, как мы могли бы общаться?
Ну, и опять же, я мог использовать другой переводчик, так как сказать ничего не мог и как понять ничего, поэтому тоже через переводчик.
No, again, only using Google Translate because I wasn't able to say anything and I was not able to understand anything.
Who did you call once you had Wi-Fi?
Я позвонил маме и сказал, что что-то происходит в школе, и я не могу поехать на автобусах, чтобы приехали и меня забрали.
I called my mom and told her that something was happening at the school and that I'm not able to get on the bus and that they need to come over and pick me up.
Did you tell them that you had been shot or that there was a shooting?
Нет, в тот момент я не был уверен, что именно происходит в школе. Может быть, там много, может, террористов, там много их, возможно, даже один, но это я боялся, что мои родители могут приехать в школу, и так как у меня находится там брат, и их могли ранить.
No, at that moment I wasn't sure if there is terrorists or if it's just one person, one terrorist. I was not sure what was going on, and I did not want my parents to come to school because I also have my brother there. I didn't want anything to happen to them.
Were you afraid that if your parents went to the school that they were going to be in danger?
Да.
Yes.
And is that why you didn't tell them what had actually happened?
Да.
Yes.
In that moment, did you have any way of communicating with your brother who was still on the school campus?
Нет, у меня не было возможности связаться, как мы родители.
No, I did not have any chance to get in touch with him.
Who came to pick you up?
Меня приехал забрать отец,
My father came to pick me up.
и он привез меня домой, и когда я вернулся домой, зашел и сказал, что что-то не попало.
So he took me home, and when I came back home, I went inside and I said that something happened to me.
И тогда мама сказала, что показала ногу, и тогда она увидела, что у меня там много крови и что у меня рана.
So my mom told me to show her my leg, and when I did, she saw there was a wound and there was a lot of blood.
Did your mother do anything to take care of that in that moment, or were you taken somewhere for rescue?
Ну, она, я точно не помню, но она обеззаразила рану и, может быть, повязку наложила.
I don't remember exactly, but I believe that she disinfected it and she put like a bandage on it.
Where did your father go?
Мой отец поехал искать моего брата в школу.
My father went to school to look for my brother.
Но он не смог туда попасть, так как там полиция его остановила.
But he was not able to enter the premises because police stopped him.
И наши друзья приехали, и мы с ними поехали на территорию школы, чтобы меня там забрала уже такая помощь.
And so our friends arrived, and we went all together back to school in order for the ambulance to pick me up.
И также я в этот момент тоже очень волновался за отца, потому что я боялся, что он может пойти в школу, чтобы спасать моего брата.
I was also very worried about my father at that moment because I was worried that he will go back into the school and try to find and pick up my brother.
Were you worried that your father would enter and encounter the shooter?
Да, он в Крыму, он работал полицейским 17 лет, поэтому я волновался, что он может принять какие-то действия.
Yes, in Crimea, we are from Crimea. He was working as a police officer for 18 years. So I was worried that he might take some action.
When did you finally come into contact with your brother?
Когда их уже перевезли в безопасную зону студентов, и учительница моего брата связалась с нами и сообщила, что все в порядке.
When they already took students to the safety zone, his teacher, she called us and she notified that he was okay.
Sorry. able to finally take a look at your leg, can you describe for the members of the jury how the wound looked? Was there an entry and an exit?
Было только одно отверстие. Это была круглая рана. Круглая рана, напоминающая чем-то ранение, но это осколок.
Okay, it was only the entry one. It was like a round wound, and it did seem like something that resembled the bullet wound. But what happened? It was actually just a part of like debris.
Да, осколок.
Yeah, it was just like a piece of a bullet.
Like shrapnel.
Yes.
And once it was cleaned up and the blood was removed, approximately how big was the wound?
Сложно сказать, я так не помню, но она не прям была большая, но не понимаю.
It's hard to tell. I don't remember well, but it wasn't too big or too small.
Your Honor, may I have information just to stand where he is and point to where it was that he was shot?
Sure.
Marion, I'm going to ask you to please stand up and just, over your clothing, just point to where on your leg that you were shot. And if you could just show the members of the jury. Thank you. You can have a seat. Marion, first witness.
You may.
Marion, I'm showing you what has marked a state's and a composite of two photographs. Do you recognize these two photographs?
Да.
Yes.
Do these photographs fairly and accurately depict the way that you looked back in February of 2018 after you were shot?
Эти фотографии правильно отражают выкрытие 18 февраля? Yes.
I'm showing you what has been pre-marked as states O. A single photograph. Do you recognize this?
Yes.
And is this a fair and accurate depiction of you on February 14, 2018 inside the building?
Здесь правильно и точно отражено то, что происходило внутри здания.
Да.
Yes, and that's me right here.
Your Honor, this time the state moves into evidence, or seeks to move into evidence with the pre-marked as states N, a composite of two photographs, as states 14.
Any objection? None. Without objection, states N for identification will now be in evidence. That is State's Exhibit 14, a composite exhibit of two photos.
And we now move into evidence with the pre-marked as states O, a single photograph as states 15.
Any objection? No, Your Honor. Without objection, State's O for identification will now be in evidence. That is State's Exhibit 15. Are these exhibits able to be viewed by the whole public?
Yes. Can I have permission to publish?
Yeah, could you use the eraser function first?
Yes.
And then you may proceed.
Erin, I know you mentioned that you were short back then. You're not so short now. Can you describe for us what we're looking at in this picture?
Здесь нахожусь я. Стою. И у меня медное ранение.
That is me standing there, and at this moment I have a wound on my leg.
How old were you here?
Ему было 14.
I think around 14 years old.
Now showing you states 14. That was, for the record, 2, composite photograph number 2, and now I'm showing photograph number 1. Is this a photograph of the location of your area where the fragments of the bullet entered?
Yes.
Marion, did the particles that were inside of your leg ever get surgically removed, or do they remain inside your leg?
Он остался.
It's in there.
Currently today?
Yes.
Earlier you mentioned that you were too short to see over the rest of the crowd. I'll show you what is now in evidence at states 15. Is this a photograph of you once the fire alarm went off?
Yes, it is.
Is that the teacher that was trying to open the classroom doors for you?
Я, конечно, сложно так, я знаю, что его звали Расписки. Я знаю, что его звали Расписки, но внешне я не помню.
It is hard for me to identify visually, but I know that his name is Raspilsky.
Расписки.
Raspilsky.
Распирский.
Raspilsky.
I have nothing else.
Okay. Cross-examination, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Mary. Just a few questions for you. You were in the 1200 building when the shooting happened?
Yes,
And you were on the third floor, correct?
yes.
That was Mr. Rospierski's classroom. That was your teacher.
Нет, у меня учитель был другой. Это учитель географии.
No, I had different teacher. I had geography teacher.
Okay. Whose classroom were you in?
До момента стрельбы в классе географии и именно номер кабинета я не помню.
Before the shooting, I was in the geography class. And the number of the room, I don't remember.
Who is the teacher of geography?
Я забыл имя его, но я знаю, что он погиб.
I forgot his name, but I know that he died as a result of the shooting.
What is Mr. Rospierski's relationship to you? He was
Он не имеет никакого отношения ко мне. Я его впервые давно встретил, но, можно сказать, он не спас себе жизнь.
He's not related to me in any way. That was the first time I encountered him, I believe. But we can say that he saved my life.
okay. Prior to the alarm going off, you didn't hear anything unusual?
Я был в наушниках и слушал музыку, поэтому не мог ничего слышать.
I was wearing my headphones. I was listening to music, and that's why I couldn't possibly have heard anything.
Did your classmates look like they were calm or excited before the fire alarm went off?
Я не обращал внимания на это, потому что мы сосредоточили задания, задания были сложные, все и не приходилось полностью в них погружаться.
I was not paying attention because I was concentrated on my task since I had very big difficulty with understanding, so I had to concentrate on going through my task.
After the fire alarm goes off and you enter the third floor, what was the demeanor of the other kids at that time?
Ну, все толпились, и сложно было сказать, какое поведение, но у детей, которые были впереди, они, как бы, у них сделали что-то странное, необычное.
Well, it was crowded. It was hard to tell what demeanor students had, but the ones that were in front of the crowd, you could tell there was something unusual happening.
And when the shooting started, did people's demeanor change?
Ну, все начали разбегаться по классам и разных бежать в сторону от стрелка.
Yes, everybody started running to classes, like running in the opposite direction, away from the shooter.
And you said that you remember seeing the teacher Rospierski trying to find his keys, correct?
Я не помню точно, что именно он делал. Пытался найти ключи или пытался вставить ключ, чтобы открыть класс, но факт в том, что он пытался открыть класс.
I don't remember exactly what he was doing, if he was trying to find his keys or if he tried to insert his key into the door lock, but he was trying to open the classroom.
And you never saw him be able to open up that door, correct?
Нет, я не видел, что он открыл.
No, I did not see him open the door.
And he even tried on another one of his doors, and he couldn't get that open, correct?
Yes.
And you and the other kids were trying to get into that classroom to seek shelter, correct?
Я не знаю, как другие ученики, но я в тот момент, если уж что-то попало в ногу, я вместо того, чтобы продолжать бежать к противоположной лестнице, что-то в голове, ну, и я подошел к тому углу.
I don't know about the other students, but after something hit my leg, instead of keeping running to the staircase, I walked to the corner.
Were you trying to get into his classroom to seek shelter if he had gotten the door open?
Ну, на самом деле, я в те времена, так как школа был незнакомый, сильно ничего не знал, но меня не сильно внушало доверие классной комнаты, так как, там стекло, мне казалось, это не слишком надежно, поэтому не знаю даже, если бы, наверное, он открыл класс, наверное, я бы зашел, но не уверен, насколько бы это было.
Actually, I was very new in that school, and I was not trusting those classrooms too much. There is a lot of glass there. So I don't know, if he had opened it, I probably would have entered, but I'm not sure if that would be very safe.
Do you know the names of any of the other kids who were waiting there to try to get into Rospierski's classroom?
Нет, я не помню. Несколько студентов мне были знакомы, когда я уже встречался с общей классом, но они.
No, I don't remember. Several of them were familiar to me because we met in we were taking some of the same classes, but I don't remember.
Do you know if any of the kids that were trying to get into the classroom were hit by bullets?
As far as I know, no.
Okay. You're not. Okay. You're certain of that, or you're not sure?
Среди раненых я не видел знакомых мне лиц, которые.
I haven't seen any familiar kids among the wounded ones.
Okay. When you left out of the building, that was from the west side of the 1200 building, correct?
Сейчас, да,
Well, yes, let's see. Yes, that would be probably yes.
Marion, can I just have you take a look at this photograph and tell me if that looks familiar to you? Is that the side that you left from?
Да, вроде бы, да.
Yes, it looks like that.
And you saw Aaron Feiss's body outside of the door right here when you left?
Yes.
And that's the opposite side of where the 700 and 800 building is located, correct?
Я с школой вообще не знаком, поэтому мне очень сложно ориентироваться.
I am not familiar with the school in general, so it's very difficult for me to
Yeah, you were
decide
new.
locations.
You were new, I understand.
No, really.
And when you were running, you first never saw my client on that side of the building, correct?
Когда я бежал, я не видел никого, кроме тех студентов, которые бежали со мной.
When I was running, I was not seeing anyone around me except the students that were running with me.
Ну, вот я не обращал внимания на окружение. В тот момент у меня сфокусировано было внимание на то, чтобы убежать от больше знания, поэтому...
I wasn't paying attention to my surroundings. I was concentrating on running away.
I understand. When you heard additional shots, more shots while you were outside, you said you started to run, correct?
Да, мы бежали достаточно далеко от здания, настолько, что мы уже как бы чувствовали, что для этого мы бежали, а сейчас остановились и стали немножко передышкой идти пешком, потому что были весьма далеко от территории, на границе территории школы, в самом углу, поэтому...
Yes, we ran pretty far away from the building, so we were feeling like it's more or less safe, so we slowed down, we started walking, because we almost got to the border of the school premises.
И потом, когда раздались переписты, мы подумали, что стреляют, возможно, нас, и опять побежали.
And then when the gunshots sounded again, we were thinking that maybe we were the target, so we started running again.
When you say you thought you were the target, explain for the jurors what you mean by that. What did you fear at that moment?
В тот момент я подумал, что, возможно, он из здания стреляет, а нам из того, откуда стрелок, откуда мы вышли, из 12-го здания, потом стреляет.
Yeah, at that moment I was thinking that maybe the shooter from the building, the one that we ran from, the 1200 one, that they were targeting us.
Okay. So if I understood you correctly, from the sound that you're hearing, you believe that the shooter was shooting from the building outside, correct?
Objection, Your Honor.
Hold on. What's the legal objection?
That counsel testified as a mischaracterization of what was just said.
No, that's what we rule. He can answer that question. Go ahead.
Okay. From the sounds that you were hearing, you believed that the shooter was firing at you while you were outside, correct?
Нет, звук был просто стрельба в здании, но это подсознательно, думаю, я себе внушил больше, что, просто что я в угрозе, так.
No, the sound was, it was just shooting in the building, but subconsciously, I had this idea that I am in danger.
Correct. And if I understood you correctly, the danger that you felt was you could be hit by bullets, correct?
Не то, что пули, я боялся, что, наверное, меня больше в тот момент как бы подсознательно страшило того, что, возможно, нас будут еще, то, что я не был уверен, что это один стрелок, как бы я не знал, что происходит в школе, я думал, что, может быть, там, сейчас еще прибежит кто-то, или, может, это жизнь.
Not even to get hit by a bullet. Subconsciously, I was more worrying that there might be more than one shooter. I didn't know what was going on, so I thought maybe somebody else gonna run and start shooting.
это больше как бы было все для самовнушения, чтобы сохранить себя. Хотя на самом деле как бы там по звукам было, ну, только звуки выстрелов были слышны из здания 12.
So it was more like the self-assurance, just to save myself, to preserve myself. What was happening in reality, there was just shooting coming out of that building.
И я в то время, когда себя определила, я много себя чего внушал, побежал. То есть и когда даже я был уже ушел с этой школы, я внушал, что возможно это вообще не стрельба, что это вообще какая-то тренировка, может быть.
At that moment, I was trying to convince me in a lot of things. I was trying to convince myself that maybe it was not a shooting, maybe just some practicing.
Потому что у меня находился брат на территории школы, и я не хотел видеть, что это.
Because I had my brother on the school premises, and I did not want to believe that it's actually a shooting.
I understand. So if I think I heard you correctly, even though you had only seen one shooter, you thought that there might be more shooters on the campus, correct?
Нет, я знал, что там один стрелок, потому что я видел только одно стрелка, и только всегда логически понятно, что как бы, когда не стрелок, что там стреляет только один человек. Но это больше просто как бы, может быть, самовнушение, чтобы спасти себя, бежать.
No, I knew that there was one shooter. I knew that, there was one shooter in the building. But it's like, logically you understand that that's what's going on. But this is like it's like a self-conviction. You're trying to convince yourself something else in order to keep running.
You ran because you still felt like you were in fear where you were standing, correct?
У меня был страх, поэтому я, как бы, можно сказать, это было самопридержание, что страх этот оставался, что ты продолжал бежать, как бы были силы, чтобы бежать.
Yes, fear. I can tell you, like, it was a fear in order to get going, in order to keep me running.
So, one final question. Even though you're outside of the 1200 building and you had run some distance, you still felt like you could be harmed at any moment, correct?
Когда мы отбежали далеко от здания, мы поэтому пошли, потому что начали чувствовать себя в безопасности. Но когда раздались снова выстрелы, мы как бы просто решили покинуть быстрее территорию школы, потому что...
Yeah, when we ran far away from the building, we started walking, because we felt like we were in safety. But then the gunshot sounded again, so we started running because we just tried to get out of the school premises.
Marion, I thank you for coming in, and I do wish you the very best.
Thank you.
Okay.
And redirect. Go ahead.
How many shots in total do you remember hearing, approximately?
Выстрелов было много, но около 20.
There were many gunshots, approximately maybe 20.
And all of those gunshots that you heard, those all happened inside the 1200 building, correct?
Да.
Yes.
Was your teacher's name that passed away Scot Peterson?
Yes.
You mentioned Mr. Rispersky saved your life. Can you explain?
Я думаю, что если бы мистер Распирский явно, наверное, остался бы, может, не осмелился бы выбежать из-за угла.
I'm thinking that if not for Mr. Rispersky, I probably wouldn't have the courage to run from around the corner.
И остался бы там.
And I would have stayed there.
И там, возможно, бы, так, грубо говоря, никто стрелку не мешал, он мог бы пойти и добить всех, меня.
And possibly because nobody was preventing the shooter or stopping him, he would have just walked around and finished me off.
Marion, I'm going to ask you to take a look over the defense table. Did you see the man sitting on the left at all that day of the shooting?
No.
So he didn't enter the building at any point?
Judge, I'm going to object.
What's the legal objection?
Leading the witness
That's overruled. Sir, you may answer the question. Go ahead.
and lack of knowledge whether he entered at all. That's the question.
Hold on, sir. Not speaking objections. The legal objection, speculation is likewise overruled. You may answer the question.
Yes.
No.
I have nothing else.
Based on that, any recall?
No, Your Honor.
State the witness excused.
Yes, Judge.
Sir, you may step down. Thank you very much. State while he is doing that. You ready with your next witness?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You may call your next witness.
Your Honor, at this time, today we call Ana Walshe. May I approach the clerk?
You may. Sir, if I could have you come all the way up here to the witness stand, please. Once you reach it, before you have a seat, you can just stop and look at me. Raise your right. Swear to tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth. I do. Please be seated. And once you are seated, if I can get you to scoot that chair all the way up as far as it will go. Can you please state your full name and spell your full name?
My first name is Arman, A-R-M-A-N. Last name is Borgai, B-O-R-G-H-E-I.
Mr. Kilburn, you may inquire.
Thank you, Your Honor. Armand, how old are you?
I'm 20.
And are you currently in school?
Yes.
Where do you go to school?
I go to Villanova in Pennsylvania.
What are you studying up at Villanova?
Criminology.
Now, going back to February 14th of 2018, where did you go to high school?
Stone Douglas.
What year were you then?
I was a freshman.
And how old were you?
I was 14 years old.
Now, on that specific day, during fourth period, what building did you have class in?
The 1200 building, which we call it freshman building.
And what floor was your classroom on?
Third floor.
And which class were you in?
I believe it was 1250, Miss Minko's class.
And what class? What was the subject?
Personalization, so it was like a free period, basically.
Now, while you were in that free period, at any point in time, did you hear some unusual or different noises?
Yes.
What did they sound like to you?
It's like pops or bangs.
How many, do you recall about how many pops or bangs you heard?
I would say maybe 4 or 5.
At that point in time, what did you think that sounds were?
At first, didn't really think anything of it. My initial thought was maybe someone was pushing a laptop cart through the hallway or something like that.
So kind of like something like this, but you push equipment or laptops on, something like that. So you thought perhaps it was that the cart fell over or something?
Well, when they push those carts around all the time, and it makes some banging noises sometimes. So I thought it was one of those.
Okay. Now, after you heard those banging noises, did you hear any other noises?
Not until the fire alarm went off.
Okay. Now, that fire alarm, earlier in the day, was there a fire drill?
It was.
Okay. Now, as a student at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, were you taught what to do during a fire drill?
Yeah, I mean, the standard procedure is we all head out into the hall and we have the designated places we're supposed to go with our class and wait there.
Now, during a standard fire drill, does the teacher kind of lead the way of where the students are supposed to go?
Yeah, like that's how it's supposed to go. But sometimes, like, we kind of just lose them and we just know where to meet.
Understood. And earlier in the day, during that fire drill, is that what occurred?
Yeah.
When you heard the second fire drill, so during fourth period, did that stand out as unusual to you?
It was a little strange because we had one earlier in the day.
Did you think anything of it though at that point in time?
Not initially.
Now, when you were after the second fire drill, did you go into the hallway?
I did.
Where in the hallway were you?
So I came out into the hallway. It was full of kids. You know, everyone was coming out of their classroom, and everyone was kind of headed to one staircase. I believe it was on the east side of the building.
Okay. And is that where you were headed towards the east side stairwell?
Yes.
Okay. And at any point, well, was a crowd forming?
Yes, there was a crowd.
Okay. And while you were in that crowd, where were you standing?
So it was like across from the staircase, right by a window.
Okay. Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
You may.
Armand, I'm showing you what's been previously marked for identification as a States P. It's a composite of 3 photographs. Can you take a look at it, please? Do you recognize these 3?
I do.
Are they a true and accurate depiction of what the east side of Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School looked like back in 2018?
Yeah.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time, the state would request to move in states, what's already been previously marked as states composite P in as states 16.
It's 3 photos.
3 photographs, yes, sir.
Any objection?
No objection.
Without objection, State's P for identification will now be in evidence that is State's Exhibit 16, a composite exhibit of 3 photos.
And Your Honor, may I publish these? Can be shown on the screen.
Yes, sir.
Armand, let's start with this photograph here. Do you recognize this?
Yes.
Okay. And Your Honor, may you enable the pencil to function? Armand, you can actually use this as a touch screen.
Okay.
That window that you were just testifying about, that you were kind of towards, can you please circle where that window is? Now, just for clarification purposes, that's not in a stairwell. That's still is that still in the hallway of the
Yes.
floor?
Outside of the stairwell.
Okay.
That's why I moved.
Now, showing you this picture. Do you see that same? Well, let me do this. Do you see that same window in this picture?
Yeah, it would be over here.
Now showing you now the third picture. Is that the same portion of the building, just from a different angle?
Yes. Well, the window would kind of be like on the other side, like over here. Kind of.
Oh, you're still in the. I'm sorry. Now go.
Like it would be like right around the corner, like in that area.
So it would be facing south.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, going back to this photograph. When you were near that window, did you at any point in time look down outside?
I did.
And what did you see?
I saw the deputy with his firearm out.
And is that deputy, did you know who Scot Peterson was that day?
Not personally, but I did know him as our school's resource officer.
Okay, you saw him outside there. Approximately where on this photograph did you see him?
Approximately in like this area over here.
Okay. Now, when you saw him, did you see his firearm?
I did.
Did he have it out?
He did.
Was it pointed in any particular direction?
It was held out like in front of him, kind of towards the west, towards the football field.
Towards the football field. He had his firearm out.
Yeah.
Okay. When you were near this window, third story window, how long would you estimate that you saw Mr. Peterson?
Well, I don't have an exact time, but it was definitely more than like a glance. Like I had a moment to, stop there and really take a look at him.
And was there anything about Mr. Peterson's actions that drew concern from you?
Absolutely. The fact that he had his firearm drawn, that's why I knew something was wrong.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
You may.
Armand, I'm showing you what's been previously marked for identification that states Q composite 2 photographs. Do you recognize this?
Yep.
What do you recognize it as? Is this a true and accurate depiction of what the aerial view of the 1200 building looked like? Your Honor, at this time, the statement request to me that states what's been previously marked as states Q composite 2 photographs in as state 17.
Any objection?
No objection.
Without objection, states Q for identification will now be in evidence that it states Exhibit 17, a composite exhibit of 2 photos.
Your Honor, may I public?
You may call.
I'm going to start off with this photograph here. Do you see, and using the pencil, do you see the 1200 building? Do you recognize it?
I do.
Okay, can you put a dot or put a little X as to where you saw Mr. Peterson when you looked out that window on the 3rd floor?
Roughly in this area.
Okay. Now just showing you a zoomed closer angle. Can you show on this photograph approximately where you saw him?
Approximately here.
Now, when you saw him there, which way was his head facing?
West.
Was his body also facing west?
Yes.
At any point in time, did you see him on a radio?
I don't recall.
Now, when Mr. Peterson was facing west, was he, at any point in time, did you see him looking to the south, to the 700 building?
No, not that I recall.
Did you see him looking east to the parking lot behind?
Not that I recall.
Did it appear to you as if his attention was to the west, towards the 1200 building?
Yes, like towards the front of the building.
Okay. And by front of the building, you mean like kind of like the west side of the building?
Yeah, like even though, like from that angle, he wouldn't have been able to see the front of the building, but like that's where he was looking.
Now, after you saw this, the school resource officer with his firearm out, what did you do?
So that's when I knew something was wrong, and me and one of my friends, we went away from the crowd at the east staircase, and we started heading towards the west staircase.
Okay, let me stop you there. Your Honor, at this time the state would request or would the state like to play, was there anything previously entered into evidence as states F7, which is in, I believe that's 6-.
You want to play out of state Exhibit 6, F7?
Yes,
And do we need to turn the TVs
we do,
off?
Your Honor, yes.
Okay. Coach, we need to turn the TVs off.
Everything's good?
Armand, do you see the screen there?
Yeah.
Pause it. Armand, do you see yourself?
Yep.
What are you wearing?
Eagle shirt, it's black.
So are you in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen on the right side?
Yes.
Okay. Is this the crowd that you were speaking about earlier, the students walking towards the east stairwell?
It is.
Okay. Is this about the time where you're looking out that window that you testified to earlier encircled?
Yeah, let's say so.
Okay. Did you see Mr. Peterson, SRO, standing in the same spot while you were looking out the window?
The spot he's in right now?
Yes.
No.
Okay. Let me clarify, I'm sorry. Was he in the same spot the entire time that you were viewing him?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, at this point in time, do you remember what you did?
Yes.
What did you do?
I went towards the other staircase and I went down maybe like 2-3 steps and heard shots like directly beneath me. And at that point I turned around and came back up and went back into the classroom I was originally in.
Were you by yourself?
No, I had a friend with me.
Okay. How many shots did you hear?
In the staircase?
Yes.
I would say 2.
Could you tell whether they were inside or outside the building?
At that point I was pretty sure they were inside.
Okay. So just for clarification purposes for the jury, did you go to the west stairwell?
Yes.
Did you open the door?
Yes.
You went down a few steps?
Yes.
Is that the point in time when you heard shots?
It is.
And you turned right around and ran back up to the 3rd floor?
Yes.
Okay. When you got back up to the 3rd floor, what did you do?
I went back into my original classroom.
Okay. Now those shots that you heard when you were in the stairwell, how loud were they?
Very loud.
Now when you went back into your original classroom, what did you do when you got into that classroom?
So our teacher locked the door and we all went like huddled in the corner behind where her desk was.
What was your teacher's name?
Miss Mika.
Now when you were in the classroom, what were you thinking?
Just, obviously really scared and kind of wondering when help was going to arrive.
How long were you in that classroom for before SWAT came and got you out?
It felt like forever, but maybe like an hour and a half, close to 2 hours.
besides when you looked out that window, did you see Mr. Peterson at all for the rest of the day?
No.
I have nothing further for this.
That's segment number 1. There is more to come. Press subscribe so you don't miss any of our continuing coverage. I'm Tony Bruschi. Stay with us.
This has been a special report from True Crime Today and the Hidden Killers podcast.